Once upon a time, the sound of power was gasoline. Now, power whispers in silence. From Beijing to Berlin, from Detroit to Delhi, a quiet revolution is spreading. It's sleek, it's fast, it's electric. And at the center of it all stands one nation moving faster than anyone else: China. While the rest of the world debated the future of driving, China built it. Pause, ambient drone sound. You're watching Drive Tomorrow, where the road ahead is always electric. From EVs and hybrids to the future of mobility, we bring you the breakthroughs, the battles, and the cars shaping tomorrow's world. Beat. This is the future of driving. Today, we re-diving into one of the biggest shifts in modern industry: how China went from catching up to leading the global EV era. This isn't just about cars, it's about technology. It's about energy. It's about power, geopolitical, industrial, and literal. And it's happening faster than anyone thought possible. So buckle up. Because the story of China as electric vehicle surge isn't just about what is next on the road. It is about who controls the future of mobility itself. Picture this. It's the early 2000s. China's cities are exploding with growth. Traffic jams stretch for miles. Smog hangs heavy in the air. Beijing knows it needs a solution fast. While Western automakers focused on horsepower and style, China's leaders were thinking about independence. Not from oil, but from the companies that controlled it. In 2009, the Chinese government launched one of the most ambitious industrial plans in history: the New Energy Vehicle Initiative, or NEV for short. The goal? Create a self-sufficient ecosystem for electric cars, batteries, parts, charging, everything. At first, it was slow. Most early Chinese EVs were small, basic, and barely made it out of local markets. But something important was happening behind the scenes. Beijing wasn't just funding cars, it was building infrastructure. Battery supply chains, gigafactories, charging networks. And most importantly, ambition. Pause for music shift, rising tone. What looked like imitation was incubation. While Western giants scoffed at cheap Chinese cars, China was quietly rewriting the rulebook. By the mid-2010s, companies like BYD, NIO, and XPeng weren't following trends, they were setting them. Every revolution has its leader. And in China's EV revolution, that leader was BYD, short for Build Your Dreams. Founded by a chemist named Wang Chuanfu, BYD started not with cars, but with batteries. He understood something simple yet profound: the future of mobility isn't about engines. It's about energy. BYD became a master of lithium-ion innovation. While the world depended on cobalt and nickel, BYD doubled down on LFP batteries. Cheaper, safer, and perfect for mass-market EVs. That one decision changed everything. By 2022, BYD overtook Tesla in global AV sales. Not by selling luxury, but by selling reliability, practical range, affordable prices, unbreakable supply chains. They didn't just build cars, they built confidence. And behind them, an army of suppliers: CATL, Gotion, EV Energy, turned China into the battery capital of the world. Think about it. Today, China controls over 70% of global battery production. From raw material processing to final assembly, they own the supply chain. That's not just dominance. That's energy security. Beat. While other nations worry about sourcing lithium, China is already thinking about recycling it. Here's where things get interesting. Because in China, an EV isn't just a car, it's a device. Companies like NIO and XPeng aren't just automakers, they're tech platforms. Their cars update over the air. They integrate AI assistants. They even gamify driving with digital avatars, immersive lighting, and self-learning systems. You could say China didn't just electrify driving, it digitized it. In Shanghai, entire factories are run by robots and algorithms. In Shenzhen, engineers test software updates overnight and push them to fleets by morning. And perhaps the most striking innovation of all: battery swapping. Instead of waiting to charge, NIO drivers can roll into a station and in 3 minutes, their empty battery slides out and a full one slides in. It's futuristic, efficient, and it's happening now. More than 1,000 NIO power swap stations already exist across China. It's an idea Tesla toyed with, but never scaled. China did. Pause, dramatic underscore. While Silicon Valley was dreaming about autonomy, China built a system that works today. Now the story goes international. Because China isn't just making cars for itself. It's making cars for the world. From Southeast Asia to Europe, from Latin America to the Middle East, Chinese EVs are everywhere. BYD ships sedans to Brazil. MG, owned by SAIC, sells SUVs in the UK. NIO is expanding across Germany, Norway, and the Netherlands. And they're not stopping. In 2023 alone, China exported more than 1.2 million EVs, overtaking Japan as the world's largest car exporter. That's not a fluke. That's a new era. Western automakers are feeling the pressure. Volkswagen, once the king of China's roads, is now struggling to keep pace. Ford and GM are scrambling to localize battery supply chains. Even Tesla, the poster child of the EV world, now depends on Chinese factories and parts to stay competitive. It's a strategic inversion. For decades, China learned from the West. Now the West is learning from China. You could say, the student has become the teacher. For years, people said Chinese cars were cheap copies. Not anymore. Today's Chinese EVs are winning design awards in Europe. They're sleek, minimalist, and bold, combining function with futuristic style. Look at the Afeela by Sony and Honda, inspired by the digital aesthetic of China's smart cabins. Or the Zeekr 001, with acceleration that rivals Porsche. Or the BYD Seal, praised for its clean interior lines and Tesla-level refinement. Chinese design has evolved, from imitation to innovation. These cars are not just vehicles. They're lifestyle statements. They speak to the modern driver, connected, conscious, and curious. Pause. And the West is noticing. European brands are hiring Chinese design teams. Startups are modeling their production after China's gigafactories. Even legacy automakers are quietly partnering with Chinese suppliers to learn how they move so fast. Because here's the truth. China has advantage isn't just low cost, it has speed. Design and production cycles that take months, not years. When the world hesitates, China iterates. None of this happened by accident. Behind China's EV success is policy precision. While other governments debated incentives and tax credits, China strategized. It subsidized early buyers, supported battery recycling, and built thousands of charging stations before demand even existed. It took risk, and it paid off. And the strategy goes beyond cars. It ties into China's broader plan for energy security and climate leadership. By leading in EVs, China reduces its oil imports. By exporting EVs, it expands its soft power. And by dominating batteries, it controls the lifeblood of tomorrow's energy economy. Pause. That's not just industrial success. That's geopolitical leverage. And now other nations are catching on. The US is investing billions in domestic battery production. Europe is imposing tariffs to protect its auto industry. But China, already years ahead, isn't slowing down. So what does this mean for the rest of us? Well, the world's mobility map is shifting fast. In Southeast Asia, Chinese EVs are bringing electric taxis to city streets. In Africa, affordable Chinese EVs are replacing second-hand gas cars. In Latin America, BYD buses are cleaning up city air. Everywhere they go, they lower prices, raise expectations, and accelerate the transition. But there's tension too. Western automakers fear market saturation. Governments worry about dependency. And consumers? They just want reliable, affordable electric cars. This is the paradox of progress. The more China leads, the more the world must adapt. The next frontier isn't just about who builds the best car. It is about who builds the system that connects them all. Batteries, software, chargers, grids, and mines. Of course, even the biggest wave hits resistance. China's EV dominance faces challenges, both internal and global. At home, fierce competition is cutting profits razor thin. Hundreds of EV startups have already collapsed. The survivors, BYD, NIO XPeng, Li Auto, are fighting for brand loyalty in a crowded market. Abroad, China faces tariffs, political pushback, and supply chain scrutiny. Europe and the US are wary of cheap imports flooding their markets. Questions about quality, cybersecurity, and intellectual property still linger. But here's the thing, China's EV story isn't about perfection, it's about momentum. Every challenge becomes a new opportunity to adapt. Every barrier becomes a test of endurance. And so far, China is passing with flying colors. So where does this all lead? Imagine 2030, you walk into a dealership in Los Angeles. Half the cars are Chinese brands or built with Chinese batteries. Charging stations are everywhere, and range anxiety is a thing of the past. Your car powers your home at night and updates its software while you sleep. This isn't science fiction. It's the path we're already on. China's success has forced the entire world to move faster. It set a standard, and whether we like it or not, everyone else has to catch up. Pause. This isn't the story of one country winning. It's the story of how competition can fuel progress. How ambition can reshape industries. And how the dream of electric mobility, once distant, is now within reach for billions. Because the truth is simple. When one nation pushes forward, the whole world moves with it. The hum of the motor. The glow of the dashboard. The silent rush of acceleration. That's not just the sound of a car. It's the sound of a revolution, one that began quietly but now echoes around the world. From the crowded streets of Shanghai to the open highways of California, the electric future is already here, and it's not slowing down. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because the road ahead is always electric.